How do courts define excessive force by police? Imagine you're in a situation where police are involved, and you're wondering if the force used was too much. Courts look at this carefully to decide if what happened was fair or not. They define excessive force as using more physical action than what a reasonable officer would consider necessary in that moment. The key point is whether the force was objectively reasonable, meaning what a typical, careful officer would do in the same situation. To figure this out, courts look at all the details happening at the time. They consider how serious the crime was that the officer was dealing with. For example, was it a minor theft or a violent assault? They also look at whether the person posed an immediate threat. Did they have a weapon or try to run away? If someone was just standing there and not resisting, using a lot of force might be seen as excessive. Another thing courts examine is if there were other options to get compliance without violence. Could the officer have used words or less forceful methods? Was the suspect armed? Did the person seem mentally or emotionally distressed? All these factors help decide if the force was justified or too much. For example, if an officer hits a person who is already handcuffed and following commands, that could be seen as excessive. Or if deadly force is used against someone who is not threatening anyone, that might also be considered too much. Courts often compare what the officer did to what a reasonable officer would do in the same situation. They use evidence like videos, witness statements, and expert opinions to make this call. Knowing this standard is important because if police use more force than necessary, it can violate your rights. It could lead to lawsuits or disciplinary action against the officers. But these cases can be complicated because of legal protections like qualified immunity, which sometimes shields officers unless their actions were clearly unreasonable. Understanding how courts define excessive force helps you recognize when your rights might have been broken during police encounters. It also shows why proper police training on de-escalation and use of force is so important to prevent these incidents from happening.